Hi everyone to this edition of The Elevator, and as you'll know with this program, we're interviewing a group of inspiring individuals who've managed to elevate themselves against the odds, but more importantly are elevating others around them, their community and the country. And one person who epitomizes everything that I've just said is Lord Popat, who came to this country with the proverbial nothing, or pound in his pocket, from Uganda as one of the refugees from Idi Amin's government, made a successful business over here. That didn't just stop him there at a business where many people would have stopped, became a peer in the House of Lords, and is now instrumental in bringing UK investment into Africa and vice versa, and also has launched a very important report for the community, which we'll touch upon. But first of all, Lord Popat, what I wanted to ask you is, well, it's quite traumatizing coming to a new country as an immigrant with nothing. How do you do it? How do you achieve that success that you've had? What's the advice you'd give others?
I think it's not us, it's the country itself, a country that gives opportunity to people. What I believe that if you come here, if you work hard, if you integrate, you speak English, and you can make a great success. And of course, we embrace the value of this great country, which has done so much for our British Indian community as a whole. There are shining examples in Parliament, in financial institutions, in many areas that, the Ugandan or the East African nations have done pretty well.
What would you say to those, and it's very timely at this moment with obviously everything going on with Black Lives Matter, social division, those who say, look, I don't have the networks, and of course you didn't have the networks when you came to this country. What would you say to those who say, well, wait a minute, how do I lift myself up? How do I get those networks? How do I integrate? Where do I even start?
Well, I think that the place to start if you come as an immigrant here is a place of work where people are working, speaking English. I learned how to speak English when I worked as a waiter, 2.5 years. And that way I was engaging with people, I was integrating with people, but I was understanding those British values and customs and practice. And obviously what I did and many Ugandan nations or East African Indians did was pick the best of British and the best of Indian. In fact, I've written a book on the subject called British Subject.
You have. I've got a copy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that says a lot about coming to this country and how you can do well in this country.
And well, first of all, I recommend that, John. We'll make sure there's an Amazon link to that when we post the video. And whilst you've said, and there's the Union Jack there, which I'm delighted you've got there, and the book is called A British Subject. You very much kept your Indianness as well, and you're at the heart of the community. Why is that important? Why is that important to you? How has that given you strength and bolstered you?
I think different communities make this country. Country is made in such a way with rule of law, democracy, and freedom that we can all work together, engage with each other, and make a success of us, but of the country as a whole.
Now, a large part of our audience will be at the other end of the socioeconomic line, let's put it that way. They'll be in the city. They're going to be hugely successful accountants, lawyers, and such like. What would your advice be to them who, obviously they've got their head down, they've got their education, they're earning a living for their family. What about saying to them, reaching out in the broader community and public service? What's your message to them?
I think the word public service is important. We have this duty of care to this country, and give the civic duty is very important. That's where you meet large number of people and you learn and you understand the way the country operates, the way the organization, institutions operate.
What would you say, before we move to a very important report that you've done, what would you say was the critical turning point for you from being, like I said, pretty much refugee status to huge business success and where you are now? What was the critical, whether it's a trait or somebody you met, a mentor, what was the turning point, would you say?
The turning point came for me in many ways, quite few turning points, is working as a waiter, and I was allowed to do evening classes at Kilburn Polytechnic then. So working and studying, working hard and studying at the same time. and qualifying and developing ourselves and moving different levels each year or year after year. And that developed you not in terms of career, but as a person as well. And that obviously gave you a lot of context. I mean, we have many good examples of British Indians who have done very well coming from East Africa or something. I know Chancellor Rishi Sunak is a classic example. Alpesh Patel Sharma is a business minister now. So it's engaging the people, it's integrating and working with them.
Yeah, and I think that message of lifelong learning, education, especially going to resonate now where the economy is in so much turmoil and people's lives are in so much turmoil, to have that attitude of learning and that attitude of hope and resilience. Now, tell me more about the report. You've commissioned and been behind this very important report. Now, whilst ostensibly it's just for the Luana community, it's actually more for not just the British Indian community, but actually for the UK.
Correct.
An aging population and how we cope with that. Could you tell me more about the report, how it came about?
Right. In fact, I was honored and asked by the Lohana community to commission a report for the Lohana community, but I took evidence from a wide range of other community members as well, including the Jewish community, Somali community, Kutchi community. And this, although this report is, was commissioned by Lohana community, is for the benefit of the wider British Indian community to explore the impact of aging population and how we can better deal with it. We are all aging very fast, very quick. And if you look at the demographic, the country's aging population in terms of numbers are going up. But it is even much bigger within the Jewish community and the British Indian community. And this report, in fact, the aging population
Perfect.
In the Lohana community, what are the key challenges and solutions, was only launched last month, and this was done prior to COVID-19 outbreak earlier this year. It has highlighted the urgency of better serving our aging population and strengthen my determination and community determination to address the implication of aging population within the British Indian community as a whole.
Yeah, and we've seen that actually our community has been at the forefront of suffering in terms of the impact of COVID. So it's been very timely in that regard, but we've also been at the forefront in the NHS of serving people as well. We're a heart of the community, and that's what the report draws out. We'll make sure there's a link to that so people can get access to it around the social media.
If I just give you some background,
please.
That, in fact, I took evidence from about 120 people, institutions. We spent about 2,000 hours on the subject with a team of 4 people, Amit Jogia, Rupal Kantaria, Rupa Gnatra, Popat, and myself. And it took 18 months to put it together. We all age every second, every minute, every day. But these extra years of life are a great gift to us. And what I found out from my research, that we're not able to enjoy it yet. And frankly speaking, I was initially reluctant to do this report, but when I did it, I enjoyed doing it, but I learned a lot about myself, how best we can live this longer life and in our old age.
What are the key findings? What are the key findings for government and maybe also for us who are watching?
Well, the key findings, what I did find was one of the major problems within the British Indian community, you won't believe, is loneliness.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, is housing as well. It's not fit for purpose as such. And there's a tremendous pressure on National Health Service. There's a lot we can do as a community or as individuals to overcome some of these challenges we've got.
Let's take this point about loneliness, and you're absolutely right. And the Mundars fulfill some of that purpose, but of course, at the moment, because of social distancing, at the time we're recording this, that's not feasible. What would you say to those? Like I say, there's people watching this who'll be from the city, professionals. There'll be those who are in other areas of life who want to undertake what you and I know as the term seva. What kind of initiatives are called for at this time to help with that major problem of loneliness in old age?
I think loneliness has become one of the most pressing challenges within our community, and COVID-19 lockdown has even made it more urgent. And what one of my recommendations in loneliness is to create a helpline where we can bring the elderly people who are living lonely. And Alpesh, whether you live in an 800 square feet flat or 4,000 square feet house, loneliness is the same. Yeah. So this helpline can ring in the morning. There'll be a large number of people come forward to be volunteers who can ring that elderly person in the morning, say good morning or Jai Shri Krishna or something, and maybe at night, saying good night and how are you? Yeah. And quite often these people have problems, even having an appointment with the doctors. Now, this is another area that I found out that we need to train and develop our older generation with technology. If you want to see a doctor these days, you've got to have apps, and they don't know how to use it or operate it. Even communication with children during COVID-19 was Zoom. They don't know how to do it. So this training and development is important with all the technology that's going around. So I think this is another area: loneliness, training and development, housing. When I went to Leicester, Coventry, Birmingham, you name the cities I've been, seen people. If you ask me, how did I do this, me and Amit? We actually very lucky. We had 2017 election. So we are out there canvassing. And if we see a Gujarati name or a Lohana name, we knock the door, get in the house, and most of them recognize me and say, I've come for 2 reasons here. Can you vote for my party and can I have a cup of tea? And whilst having this tea, I started talking to them and realize the sort of quality of life they're living. I mean, there are many who obviously worked very hard, gave excellent education to children, and really living lonely with ill health quite often. And frankly, in terms financial terms, they're living on the pension or they're getting, although the house is paid off, but they have these expenses. So there also financial planning is a key area that we need to help them to plan in advance for their retirement. We are living longer because of, amazing healthcare system we have in this country.
Yeah, I think what I got from the report was, and I encourage everybody to read it, is I think in the right hands, it will lead to people from our community delivering on some of the solutions to the problems you've identified. I think the great thing about it was you identified the problems, you identified some of the solutions. I think there'll be people who read it and say, actually, on implementation, we could do that. That's something we can help with. And I think that's what it did for me. It gave that direction for those listening to this, thinking, I'm looking for something to do, make myself useful. This would be a fantastic starting point for them to take it forward. And so, like I said, I encourage them to read it and find solutions to social ills. Lord Popat, we're going to be running out of time very soon. What overarching message would you want to give to the people watching, whether it's about the report, anything you've not had a chance to get across, or more broadly, your vision, your plan for the future, your vision for the country, those kinds of things?
I think if you just go back on the elderly in the report, we're not necessarily heading towards a disaster. Older people contribute greatly to the society, to the community, including through volunteering and delivering informal care to either to their spouse, but more important, a large number of help the children so much in terms of babysitting, school drops and all that. So they make amazing contribution, which is something to be welcomed. All I can say, Alpesh, too, if anybody wants a hard copy of this report, please email me or email you. You can forward the email to us, and we'll be very happy to post them first class. It is worth reading for young and old. It's a document for many years to come. So much to learn from it. What sort of lifestyle should we have as elderly, or what sort of lifestyle should we help our parents to have a good life?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think, like I said, I think for me, what it'll do is there'll be some people watching it. There might be entrepreneurs, for instance. There might be tech entrepreneurs. Correct. There might be a group of young individuals at a city firm who say, hey, this is something we can get behind. It's already been well researched, so they don't need to do the research themselves. That's the brilliant thing about it. Like you said, you spent thousands of hours with your team, and I know Amit as well, who've made this possible. And anybody who wants to solve a problem first needs the research. You've actually done the hard part for them, and they can get behind it. And I think it really could inspire change.
Yeah, we got to admire the the Somali community and the Jewish community, where they have retirement village for their own community, living together, working together, looking after each other, having activities. Activities is key for elderly people, both physical and mental activities. So And we should really be building the retirement village. British Indians should also be building our retirement homes. Why not? Do you get me? I would not advise anyone to put their parents in a nursing home or a care home. But the fact is their health is such, it's very difficult to look after them at home. And the hospital doesn't want you. So we need to create this type of community hub where we can enjoy our retirement, we can enjoy the last few days of our life.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, especially like you say with the Jewish community and the Ishmaeli community, and how for instance, in the Ishmaeli community, the Aga Khan has inculcated and been a lightning rod of giving and service. And I think sometimes as we get busy with our professional lives and our nuclear families, we forget the values that we have both as British people, but also as Indians, of having that interaction. And I assume that you'll be bringing these issues up in Parliament when the opportunity arises, and
Correct.
carrying these things forward. Any final thoughts in closing before we sadly have to call it a day?
Well, we have, Alpesh, one in British Indian works in the City of London. They're highly qualified, very rich, very able. They want to do more for the country. They want to do more for their family. They want to do more for the community. All I would advise them that we're always constantly looking for people to serve government bodies as non-executive directors. Please come forward, become a councillor, become an MP. You know, there's huge opportunity available, and we can make better living for our country, for our people, and for our community.
That's actually a fantastic message. And I know, having worked with you with my government hat, my Department for International Trade hat, where I'm in the Global Entrepreneur Program, and the work you're doing in bringing inward investment into the United Kingdom, and as well as this program, which is going out for City Hindus Network, but also more broadly, it's open to everybody. I think that's a really important point. You close on that. There are people, especially at this tumultuous time, who'll be looking for direction, looking for new things to do, is to look at those public service posts as well. And like I said, I'll make sure they've got a link to both the book and the report, because I think it'll inspire them. I think it'll inspire them to make huge changes. So Lord Popat, thank you very much for being an inspiration, but also continuing with energy and vigor to fly the flag, as it were, for these great causes.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks. Cheers. God bless.